Hello, and welcome to the Harbinger Cross training program on Working at Heights Equipment, Care, Use, and Type, Chapter 6, Version 1.0. Harbinger Cross is committed to health and safety and believes in order to be effective, health and safety must be cultural and expressed at all levels of the organization. This is our agenda for today. First, we'll review the roles and responsibilities of all workplace parties. Next, we'll talk about the legislative requirements. From there, we'll move into activities requiring working at heights, the injuries and hazards that can happen if we're not protecting ourselves, working at heights equipment, the prevention systems including travel restraint, fall restricting, and fall arrest, care and maintenance of the system. There is a summary and of course a multiple choice test at the end of the program. Roles and responsibilities. At Harbinger Cross there are no free lunches, everyone has a job to do. Beginning with senior management, their job is to review the guidelines and training requirements for PPE annually and to apply changes to the manual as required. They are to ensure that all job sites have adequate PPE based on the type of work activities experienced and provide all workers training on how to use PPE effectively. Superintendents and supervisors have an important job to do. They are to review with workers their daily activities, hazards, and ways to mitigate risk through the use of specialized PPE, review with workers the required training programs on the care, use, and type of specialized PPE, have available specialized PPE for the required activities, and verify through site inspections that workers are using specialized PPE as required. Your safety coordinators are there to support you. They are to verify through site inspections that workers are using as required specialized PPE, report any violations of the PPE policy to the site superintendent and provide disciplinary action as required, and to train workers on the care, use, and type of specialized PPE for the required activities. And of course, workers have an important job to do. They are to participate as required in the Harbinger Cross training program on the care, use, and type of specialized PPE, identify on the DTA specialized PPE required to minimize risk when performing an activity, and to use as required specialized PPE to mitigate hazards. Legislative requirements. So in the Occupational Health and Safety Act, under Section 26(1), it states that if it is not reasonable to install a guardrail system, a worker shall be adequately protected by at least one of the following methods of fall protection. They include a travel restraint system, a fall restricting system, or a fall arrest system. Section 26(2), an employer shall ensure that a worker who may use a fall protection system is adequately trained in its use and given adequate oral and written instruction by a competent person. 26(4), a travel restraint system shall consist of a full body harness with adequate attachments. A full body harness shall be attached by a lifeline or lanyard to a fixed support, and a travel restraint system shall be inspected by a competent worker before each use. 26(6), a fall arrest system shall consist of a full body harness with adequate attachment points and a lanyard equipped with a shock absorber. Fall arrest system shall be attached by a lifeline or by a lanyard to an independent fixed support. Fall arrest system shall be arranged so that a worker cannot hit the ground or an object below. And the fall arrest system shall be inspected by a competent worker before each use. And lastly, 26(7), a permanent anchor system shall be used as a fixed support in a fall arrest system or travel restraint system. Activities requiring working at heights. Injuries from fall hazards is the number one leading cause of fatality and critical injury in the construction industries. Working at heights is a high-risk activity that requires special considerations and preventative measures to be implemented prior to performing the work. These activities include working off of a personal elevated work platform, or EWP, assembling a scaffold above 3 frames, leading edge work, climbing formwork walls or columns, installing guardrail systems, or working off of a roof. And as you can see here in each of these pictures, workers are performing a working at heights activities and they're all being protected by a full body harness and a support system. Injuries and hazards. Fall protection systems control the hazard at the source. The leading results of injuries from falls include fractures, broken bones, and even death. Fall protection uses a number of equipment pieces that must be inspected by a competent worker prior to each use, and Harbinger Cross offers working at heights inspection forms that must be inspected prior to using the equipment. As the saying goes, if your parachute fails, you have the rest of your life to fix it. The hazards of fall protection equipment include the following: ultraviolet light, extreme temperature changes, fractures and abrasions, sparks or flames, chemicals, and storage. Again, you always want to store your equipment in a room temperature area away from chemicals. You want to protect your equipment so your equipment can take care of you. Working at heights equipment. So these are the various components that are used in the working at heights activities. You first start off with your full body harness, and this is designed to attach to you and to an anchor point. The attachment is made from the D-ring, which is typically found towards the back. The harness are specific to both men and women, so you want to make sure that your gender is using the appropriate harness. And also, all working at heights equipment, including harnesses, must be annually inspected by the manufacturer or a manufacturer representative. Workers must also perform an inspection before each use. Next are the lanyards. So lanyards can be with a shock absorber or without one in the form of a travel restraint. They are designed to connect a harness to an anchor point or act as a connector to an extension device that gives extra reach from an anchor point. Now, traditionally, lanyards have been either E4 or E6, and so the weight requirements for an E4 include between 100 and 250 pounds, E6 about 200 to 385 pounds. Now, new technologies have created something called a hybrid lanyard, which is designed to support weights of 100 to 386 pounds. Additionally, some other tools include rope grabs, lifelines, and self-retracting lanyards that can all be used to help support the working at heights activity. Prevention system. There are three types of prevention systems that are used to support working at heights activities. First is the travel restraint, which lets workers travel just far enough to reach the edge, but not far enough to go over. The components of the system include the CSA full body harness, a lanyard, and if required, a lifeline or rope grab. Everything must be supported to an adequate anchor point, and the anchor point must support at least 450 pounds. You want to connect the lanyard directly to the D-ring of the worker's full body harness and the anchor point. It is critical that the distance traveled from the anchor point is short enough to restrain the worker from any fall hazards. And you can see here in these pictures, all these workers are utilizing travel restraint system and they will not go over the edge. The next system is a fall restricting system and is designed to limit a worker's free fall distance to 0.6 meters or 2 feet. The system typically uses a self-retracting lanyard, SLR, that acts as a seatbelt locking you in place as you fall. The components of the system include a CSA full-bodied harness, self-retracting lanyard, and the anchor point must support at least 1,350 pounds. You want to connect the SLR directly to the D-ring of the worker's full-body harness, while the opposite end is secured to an adequate anchor point. It is critical that the positioning of the SLR is typically above the worker's shoulders in order to minimize the pendulum swing. And we can see here examples of different types of SLRs that are used in the field. The last system is a fall arrest system and is used when a worker cannot be protected by a guardrail or a travel restraint system. The system is designed to limit a worker's free fall distance so that they do not bottom out or hit the ground. It's also important to note that if a worker falls while in the fall arrest system, they must be rescued immediately in order to prevent further injury, and injury includes suspension trauma. The components of a fall arrest system include a CSA full-bodied harness, a lanyard with an energy absorber, a lifeline or rope grab, and the anchor point itself must support at least 1,800 pounds. You want to connect the lifeline rope to an adequate anchor point. Next, you want to connect the lanyard with a shock absorber to a worker's full-body harness, and you want to marry these two systems by using a rope grab. This will support the system to the anchor point itself. Next, the system must be able to support 1,800 pounds. It is critical that the length of the system measured from the anchor point is short enough to prevent the worker from hitting any objects below when experiencing a fall. Summary. Working at heights is an activity that requires a worker to perform a task above heights of at least 10 feet. This is typically characteristic of a high-risk activity and is a leading cause of injury and death in our industries. Once again, these activities include working off of a personal elevated work platform, leading edge work, installing a guardrail system, working off a roof, climbing formwork, or assembling a scaffold above 3 frames. The 3 systems are typically used in a fall arrest or working at heights activities include travel restraint, which allows us to travel far enough to the edge but prevents us from going over. Fall restricting, which limits our falls to a distance of 0.6 meters or 2 feet. And of course, fall arrest system, where a worker falls but does not hit the ground or bottom out. For more information, please refer to Chapter 6 of your Health and Safety Manual. Let's move into our Working at Heights multiple choice test. Question 1. Which of the following is a worker's responsibility? Is it A, to provide specialized PPE to the workforce for the required activities? B, report any violations of the specialized PPE policy to the site superintendent and to discipline as required? Or C, to use required specialized PPE to mitigate hazards? Question 2. Harbridge & Cross supplies which of the following fall protection equipment to its workforce? Is it A, full body harness, B, rope grab, C, lifeline or retractables, or D, all of the above? And lastly, which of the following are hazards associated with working at heights? Is it A, fall hazards, B, pinch points, or C, overhead work? Let's see the answers. If you have any questions about this training program, please contact the Health and Safety Department. Thank you and have a great day.